Welcome back to part 2 of my underdog road to glory, and after going 1-1, including a heartbreaker in overtime, we are going to be playing the FCS Southeast Pandas, also known as the UGF Pandas. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that we can continue so that I know that the support is still going on for this series. The first half was fairly uneventful, including, even though I did throw an interception, it really just ended 3-0 with a field goal, which then the UGF Pandas would then tie up at 3-3. But eventually we did get back on our feet, and we scored a rushing touchdown, not me, but our running back. And they'd score a touchdown, and even our defense would score a touchdown, and that's really all she wrote. We'd end up winning this game 17-10, even though I did play a terrible game, including 2 interceptions. We ended up getting an NIL deal, which gave us 10,000 followers and a leadership boost, which was pretty nice. After doing all my weekly duties, we were going on to face the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Our first drive was rough, to say the least. We had a holding call, and on the 2nd and 19, I fumbled, which gave Jacksonville State the perfect opportunity to take a 7-0 lead. After that mistake, we decided to go down the field, and we got pretty close to getting a touchdown, but in the end, we ended up just settling for a field goal. We'd end up getting the ball back late in the first quarter, where we'd trend the clock into the second quarter, and then true freshman me makes another critical mistake in throwing another interception, even after a great play by one of my wide receivers. Thankfully, we'd get the ball back without any other consequences, and even after a great throw and catch, I fumbled the football. And within the 2-minute warning, it's a heartbreaker, to say the least. But when we got the ball back, I was able to throw a deep ball all the way for a touchdown within the 2-minute warning to make this game back to a manageable deficit. When we got the ball to start the second half, we drove down the field and we scored another touchdown to take the lead early in the third quarter. We get the ball back, and despite some good plays, we end up just punting the ball, and Jacksonville State would score a field goal to take a 7-point lead. But then, we took another deep ball, and this one would be a touchdown to tie the game. And our defense coming in clutch would force a turnover, which we would then turn with the very short field position into another touchdown to take the lead. Jacksonville State would end up tying up the game. We would stall out a few more drives until we were within the 2-minute warning, and we needed to make a drive to win the game. As you can see, we made some good plays, and we were able to drive down the field and get into field goal range as Jacksonville State started to burn their timeouts. We'd end up kicking a game-winning field goal, and we would run out the rest of the clock as we take home a victory. After a bye week, our midterms came around, and we got all A's, and so our GPA went up quite a bit, and our next game will be against Middle Tennessee State, and we'll see if we get the dub here. We get the ball first, but end up not doing anything. And Middle Tennessee State would end up scoring a touchdown, and we'd only respond with a field goal. After trading field goals with Middle Tennessee State, we'd get the ball back with 43 seconds left in the second quarter, and we would drive all the way down the field to get another field goal to bring it to within one by halftime. We'd end up getting ball to start the second half, and we'd drive all the way for a touchdown. But we would end up failing the 2-point conversion. Middle Tennessee State would end up scoring a touchdown but failing the 2-point conversion, and then we would score a touchdown but also convert the 2 points. Middle Tennessee State would end up scoring a touchdown, then we'd fail a drive, they'd score another touchdown, and we drove down the field and were able to get a critical 4th down conversion that brought us all the way down to the 1, and after winding down the clock, we scored the touchdown. So we just needed an extra point to tie up the game and send it to overtime, but we ended up missing the extra point, and we'd lose this game 30-29. We'd end up going to a party past curfew, and our next game would be against 14th ranked Liberty. And we are 3-3, trying to bounce back after a heartbreaker to go 4-3 and even get an upset. We get ball to start, and we would drive all the way down, and after failing a 3rd and goal, we'd just take the field goal to take a 3-0 lead. Liberty would end up scoring a touchdown, and I only made things worse by throwing a 20-yard pick six. Skip forward to the second half, we're down 24-3, but we score a touchdown to try and claw back into this game, 24-10. And claw back even closer we did with a wheel route that went deep all the way for a touchdown to make it a one-possession game, 24-17. With 3 minutes left in the game, it was looking pretty hopeless, but on a 3rd and 10, we go all the way for a touchdown to bring it back to within one possession, and we still have a chance to take a dub here. But for some reason, our coach decides to let us go for 2, even though we didn't need to, and we ultimately failed. I throw an interception with less than 2 minutes left in the game. We had a chance to tie up the game that ultimately sealed it, and we lost this one as well. We got a text from coach about us going out past curfew, and he'd now trust us considerably less, to say the least. I also drove with my defensive tackle to an 8:30 class, and we got to know each other a little bit better. Our next game was against the 5-2 Western Kentucky University Hilltoppers, and we'll see if we can finally get back in the win column. We start down 14-0, and early in the second quarter, we'd only end up with a field goal to show for it at this point. And when it rains, it pours, and we end up allowing a safety. And with less than 2 minutes left, we are down by 20, and we need a big play. I end up rushing all the way and running out of bounds at the 2, but Western Kentucky gets hit for a unnecessary roughness penalty, which means we will be down at the 1-yard line. We'd ultimately end up scoring. Our defense would end up forcing a turnover, and with less than a minute left, we had a chance to get another score. I would end up running the ball all the way to within the 10-yard line, and on that next play, we ended up scoring a touchdown to bring the lead within one possession. Skip forward to over halfway through the third quarter, we're down by 14, and I end up rushing for a touchdown to bring the deficit back to within one possession again. The game would end up slipping away from us, and we'd lose 41-24. I ended up getting a text from a reporter about the loss streak, and I'd end up promising a win in the next game, but despite sitting out bye week, it assumed that we lost, and I honestly had no idea what to do at that point. We ended up losing a bit of our brand. I also decided to end up studying for a geology test rather than just take the answers off of the TA sheet. Our next game would be up against the 1-8 UTEP Dr. Disrespect Miners, and hopefully we can get back into the win column. I beg of you. We ended up jumping on the board early, up 7-0 after a rushing touchdown. We'd end up jumping even further ahead with another touchdown on a 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line to take a 14-0 lead. UTEP would end up scoring 17 unanswered, but with less than a few seconds in the second half, we scored a field goal to tie the game back up. With less than 2 minutes left, it was a 1-point game, 23-24, and we'd end up driving all the way down the field to get into field goal range, and this time I did not allow a San Jose State position to happen, where I called a timeout, and we ended up kicking the game-winning field goal and winning this one 26-24. Our next game was against the 4-5 Sam Houston Bearcats, and another critical game if we want to maintain bowl eligibility. Trading field goals would be the only thing that would happen in the first quarter, but early in the second quarter, we went for a deep ball and it ended up being the first touchdown of the game. We're up 10-3 early in the second quarter. The first half would end 10-10. It would take all the way to the fourth quarter to get on the board again, where we take a touchdown to get a 17-10 lead. With 2 minutes left, on one of my favorite play calls, I go deep to get a touchdown that would ultimately seal the game. Up next was one of our biggest games of the year against the 7-3 FIU, the Florida International University Panthers. We'd get ball to start the game, and I'd throw a touchdown to get on the board early. We're up 7-0. Shortly after, our running back had a rare but big play to help us double our lead. It's 14-0. We get the ball back on our own 7, but we would fumble on the first play of our drive, and FIU would end up cutting the lead to 14-7. Halftime would come around, and it'd be 14-14, and in the third quarter, we were setting up good for a drive, but then I fumbled, but luckily I was able to recover it. But on the next play, on a 3rd and 22, I threw the ball deep for a touchdown. Later, and late in the third quarter, I would throw another deep ball, which would end up extending our lead to 2 possessions. The game would ultimately end with a score of 28-17, and we'd win a huge game and earn bowl eligibility. With no chance at the conference championship and bowl eligibility locked up, we went to go face 7-4 Louisiana Tech with a chance to just earn an extra win. Nothing really happened in the first half. I mean, we went down 7-6, but no big plays to really speak of. And so we'll head to the third quarter where we throw one to the back of the end zone in the sideline, and it's called a touchdown. But then it gets reviewed, but then it also stays a touchdown. And so we just go for the 2-point conversion, which we ultimately fail, but we're up 12-7. Louisiana Tech would end up scoring 12 unanswered, and with 2 minutes left in the game, we throw another deep ball, my signature, to tie up the game at 19-19. Our defense would end up forcing a turnover, and we'd get into field goal range and ultimately kick the field goal to win 22-19 and end our regular season 7-5. I'd end up having a 4.0 GPA at the end of the year, and our bowl game will be against 23 ranked Miami, the Hurricanes, in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Yeah, this game was kind of a wash. I mean, we'd end up scoring a touchdown, but it was too little too late, and we ended up losing. But making it to a bowl game despite our challenges, I'll take it as a victory. We'd end our true freshman year as a 70 overall. We'd end up throwing for over 3,000 passing yards, 19 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, while also rushing for over 100 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground as well. Nothing looked good in the transfer portal. No one would offer me a starting role out the gate, and so I decided to stay with Kennesaw State for my sophomore year and hopefully take them a little bit further. That'll be it for this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all later.